Story 1, The Last Bus Home. The bus was never supposed to run that late. That's what the driver told me as I climbed aboard, stamping snow from my boots. His voice sounded hollow, like it didn't expect an answer back. Outside, the streetlight flickered against falling snow, the kind that erased edges and softened the world until everything felt unfinished. I was the only passenger. The bus doors hissed shut behind me, sealing in the warmth and the smell of old vinyl. I took a seat halfway back. The engine groaned as we pulled away, the road ahead swallowed by white. 10 minutes passed in silence. No stops. No radio. Just the rhythmic thump of tires rolling over packed snow. Then the driver spoke again. "Funny night," he said, eyes fixed forward. "Yeah," I replied. "Didn't think anyone else would be out." He nodded slowly. "Most folks know better." We passed a bus stop, bench buried in snow, sign barely visible. No one waiting. Still, the bus slowed, then stopped. The doors opened. Cold rushed in, sharp enough to sting my lungs. I leaned forward, confused. No one's there. The driver didn't look back. They will be. The doors closed. The bus moved again. I checked my phone. No signal. The time flickered, then vanished. I slid it back into my pocket, suddenly aware of how far we were from anywhere that mattered. The next stop came faster. Same thing, empty road, drifting snow, doors opening wide. This time, I heard footsteps. Heavy. Slow. Deliberate. I twisted in my seat and looked back. Someone stood in the aisle. Tall. Too tall for the bus. Their head brushed the ceiling lights, which flickered weakly as they passed beneath. They wore a long coat dusted with snow that didn't melt. Their face was hidden in shadow, like the darkness clung to it. They didn't sit. Just stood there, swaying slightly as the bus moved. The driver didn't react. I leaned toward him. "Hey, there's someone." "I know," he said quietly. "Don't look at them too long." My heart thudded. "Why not?" "They'll think you're waiting too." The bus stopped again. Another figure boarded. Then another. Soon the aisle was full. Shapes packed shoulder to shoulder, silent, motionless, all facing forward. The air grew colder with each stop. My breath fogged. I pressed myself against the seat, afraid to move. "What is this place?" I whispered. The driver finally turned his head slightly. His eyes were rimmed red, like he hadn't slept in years. "End of the line," he said. "For some of us." The bus slowed, then rolled to a stop in the middle of nowhere. No buildings. No lights. Just snow and darkness. The driver stood. "This is yours." "I didn't pull the cord," I said. "You rode past where you should have gotten off," he replied. "That's how it starts." The figures turned their heads toward me all at once. I felt it then, a pull, like gravity shifting. Like the bus no longer wanted me inside it. "I want to go home," I said, voice shaking. The driver met my eyes. "Then don't wait." He opened the doors. Cold exploded inward. Wind howled. Snow rushed across the floor. I ran. The moment my feet hit the road, the doors slammed shut behind me. The bus roared away, taillights shrinking into the storm. I stood there alone, gasping, until I realized something worse. Behind me, in the snow, were footprints. Not mine. And they were still moving. Story 2, The Snow Outside the Bedroom Door. The first sound woke me at exactly 2:47 a.m. A soft dragging noise, like something being pulled slowly across carpet. I lay still, listening. The house was silent otherwise. No wind. No creaks. Just that sound, coming from the hallway outside my bedroom. I told myself it was the heat kicking on. Or maybe the cat, except I didn't have a cat. The dragging stopped. Then came a new sound. Breathing. It was faint, uneven, and too close. Right outside my door. I stared at the dark ceiling, heart pounding. Hello. I called, hating how small my voice sounded. No answer. I reached for my phone. No notifications. No missed calls. The time read 2:48. Then I noticed the cold. My bedroom was always warm, but now the air felt sharp, like it had teeth. I swung my legs out of bed and my feet hit something wet. I looked down. Snow. A thin layer of it, melting into the carpet. My door handle turned slowly, stopped, then turned back the other way. Something scraped along the wood, testing. I backed up, grabbing the baseball bat from beside my bed. Get out, I whispered. The breathing changed. Faster. Excited. A voice came through the door, soft and careful. Can I come in? It sounded like my sister. She lived 3 states away. You're not here, I said. I was cold, the voice replied. You didn't answer your phone. The handle rattled once. Snow slid under the door in a thin, deliberate line. I shook my head. Go away. The voice sighed, disappointed. You always do this. Something pressed against the door from the other side. Not hard. Just enough to bow the wood inward. I stepped back until I hit the wall. The hallway light flicked on by itself, shining through the crack beneath the door. I saw a shadow stretch across the carpet, long, bending where no body should bend. Then the scraping resumed, moving away. I waited. Seconds passed. Then minutes. Finally, I cracked the door open. The hallway was empty. But the floor was covered in snow, leading to the front door. The lock hung open. Outside, the night was quiet and bright, moonlight reflecting off untouched white. Except for one set of footprints standing on the porch. Facing the door. Waiting. I shut it and locked every lock I had. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. In the morning, the snow was gone. So were the footprints. But sometimes, when the house is quiet and winter settles in, I hear breathing on the other side of my door. And it sounds patient. Story 3, Don't Turn Off the Headlights. The road vanished 10 miles back. Not abruptly. It just faded. Trees blurred into snow. Sky blended with ground. The world turned into one endless shade of white. Whiteout. I slowed to a crawl, gripping the wheel so hard my hands hurt. The headlights were the only thing keeping reality intact. Then the engine died. I coasted to a stop, heart hammering. Tried the ignition. Nothing. The silence that followed felt heavy, watching. I stayed inside. That was rule 1. Stay with the car. Snow ticked softly against the windshield. Then I saw movement. At the edge of the headlights, something shifted. Tall. Thin. Barely solid, like it was stitched together from shadow and snowfall. It didn't approach. It just stood there. I whispered, "Nope," and turned the headlights off. Darkness swallowed everything. Immediately, the cold deepened. A sound came from outside, footsteps crunching closer. Faster now. I slammed the headlights back on. The road was empty. No footprints. No shapes. Just snow. Minutes passed. My fingers went numb. My breath fogged the glass. I considered turning the headlights off again to save the battery, but something in my gut screamed not to. That's when the knocking started. 3 slow knocks on the driver's side door. I froze. A voice followed, low and calm. "You don't need those on." I shook my head. "I'm fine," I said. The voice chuckled softly. "You're lying to yourself." A shape formed at the edge of the light again, closer this time. Its outline shimmered, struggling to stay whole. "The dark is warmer," it said. "Turn them off." My hands trembled over the switch. Behind the voice, more shapes gathered. Watching. Waiting. I kept the lights on. The voice grew irritated. "You're wasting time." The battery indicator blinked. I swallowed hard and stared straight ahead. Hours passed. Or maybe minutes. Eventually, the shapes faded. The knocking stopped. The storm eased. Dawn crept in like a reluctant apology. A tow truck found me just after sunrise. The driver frowned at my car. "Good thing you kept your lights on," he said. "People freeze out here when they panic." I nodded, too tired to explain. Even now, I never turn my headlights off first. Because sometimes, the dark asks nicely. And it hates being told no. Story 4, The House That Stayed Warm. The power went out at 11:58 p.m. I remember the time because I was watching it change on the microwave clock when everything died at once: lights, heater, the low hum of the refrigerator. The house dropped into silence so sudden it made my ears ring. Outside, the storm had been building all evening. Snow thick enough to swallow the road. Wind screaming down from the hills. The kind of night where the world feels unfinished. I stood there in the dark kitchen, breath fogging, and told myself it was fine. Power outages happen. I had blankets. Candles. A fireplace I'd never used. Then I noticed something wrong. The house wasn't getting cold. I waited for it, that creeping bite of winter air that seeps through walls and floors when the heat dies. It never came. The air stayed comfortably warm, like the outage hadn't mattered at all. I frowned and rubbed my hands together. "Okay," I muttered. "That's good." Still, unease settled in my chest. The heater hadn't kicked back on. No vents blowing. Yet the warmth stayed constant, even gentle. I lit a candle and moved through the house. Every room felt the same. Not hot. Not cold. Just right. Too right. At 12:14 a.m., something knocked on the front door. Not pounding. Not urgent. 3 slow knocks, evenly spaced. I froze. No one drives up here in weather like this. The nearest neighbor was miles away. I approached the door and peered through the window. Nothing but swirling snow. "Hello?" I called. The wind answered. I stepped back, heart racing, telling myself it was a branch. The house made noises in storms. Old houses always did. Then the knocking came again. This time, from the back door. My stomach dropped. I turned slowly, candle shaking in my hand, and stared down the hallway. The back door stood at the far end, its window black with night. 3 knocks, calm and patient. I didn't move. A voice followed, muffled through the wood. "Hey, you're still warm in there, right?" The words landed wrong. Too familiar. Too knowing. "Who is this?" I asked. A pause. Then, "Someone who needs to come in." I backed away, whispering, "No." The candle flame stretched sideways, as if pulled by something unseen. The warmth in the house deepened, thick and heavy, like a blanket pressed over my shoulders. The voice sighed. "That's not how it works." The knocking stopped. Silence returned, but it wasn't empty anymore. It felt occupied. I noticed the walls. They were warm to the touch. Not just warm, alive with heat, like skin beneath fabric. I pulled my hand back, pulse racing. That's when the whispering started. Not from one place, from everywhere. Soft murmurs sliding through the walls, under the floors, above the ceiling. So cold out here. Just for a minute. You don't need all that warmth. I stumbled into the living room and fed the fireplace with shaking hands. The flame caught immediately, roaring higher than it should have. The whispers grew louder. The temperature climbed. Sweat broke out across my neck. The windows fogged from the inside, thick condensation rolling down the glass like tears. Outside, shapes moved in the snow. I pressed my face to the window and saw them, figures standing just beyond the porch light. Dozens of them. Maybe more. Their outlines blurred by the storm, faces hidden, all turned toward the house. Toward the warmth. A knock echoed from every wall at once. The house groaned, wood popping, beams shifting as if under pressure. "Share," the voices said together. I shook my head, backing away. "You can't come in." The floor beneath my feet radiated heat now, almost burning. The fireplace flared brighter, flames stretching unnaturally tall. The whispers turned to pleading. Then to anger. The front door handle rattled violently. Frost crept across the inside of the windows even as the room grew hotter, ice and heat battling in the air. I realized the truth too late. The house wasn't protecting me. It was feeding. The warmth wasn't comfort, it was bait. The house had learned that cold things come to heat, and heat is easier to keep when it's shared. The door cracked. Not physically, but wrong, like space itself bent inward. Cold poured through the seam, sharp enough to hurt. Shapes pressed against the opening, fingers long and dark. The house responded. The heat surged. A wave of suffocating warmth slammed into me, stealing my breath. The figures outside screamed, not in pain, but hunger, as the heat dragged them forward. The door slammed shut on its own. Silence. I collapsed to the floor, gasping, the house humming softly around me like a satisfied animal. The warmth stabilized again, perfect, gentle. Too gentle. At dawn, the storm passed. Sunlight glinted off untouched snow. No footprints. No figures. The power came back at 7:02 a.m. The heater kicked on with a familiar click. Only then did the house begin to cool. I left that morning and never went back. The realtor later told me the place had always been popular in winter. People loved how warm it stayed during outages. They didn't mention the disappearances. And sometimes, when the temperature drops at night, I swear I can still feel that warmth on my skin. Waiting.